Welcome to the Art Lady home. Today I'm going to show you how to make this vegan, vegetarian friendly lasagna in just a few easy steps. And I'm going to be using some dairy substitutes and meat substitutes as well. There it is, plated up here. And that was our first piece coming out. You can see how it has all these beautiful layers. And it is a zucchini based lasagna. So stay tuned and I'm going to show you step by step how we made it. To start off my lasagna, what I do is I slice up my sausage really thin. And I'm using these smart sausages. These are meatless, but you can use, of course, regular sausage. I've done that before I became vegan. It actually tastes absolutely delicious with Italian sausage. But as my substitute, I'm using these meatless Italian. And what I did was I sauteed them in a pan with some onions. First I sliced them really thin. Pretty thin here, and on a medium pan with a little bit of olive oil, I fried them on one side first, flipped them over and fried them on the other, and then sauteed them. After those were nice and crispy, because I like them crispy, once they were nice and crispy, then I sauteed them with one large sweet onion. It was a pretty good size onion, you know, way bigger than my fist here. So that was pretty big. I want this to be loaded with vegetables. So that was the first prep. After my sausage was cooked enough, then I removed it from the pan, and then I used the same pan and I cooked a half a package of this Gardein beefless ground beef. If I'm making it with real meat, I use a whole pound of ground steak when I make my lasagna, and it's absolutely delicious. Before I became vegan, I ground up some roast. I would grind a whole roast and cook that first. But for being vegan, I used a half a package of this. And then I used another really large onion. It was a sweet onion. And I also put in 2 cans, because all I had was cans today, of mushrooms right here. And then I used some rosemary and Italian seasoning mix. Here's the rosemary and garlic spice blend. And then I put a lot of Italian season mix in here, probably about a teaspoon to a tablespoon of Italian season mix. And then I used 4 or 5 cloves of garlic, and they were good sized garlic, about that big, in here. And then I threw in a couple garlic in my sausage mixture as well. So now I have my ground beef mixture and I have my sausage mixture ready to go. While that was cooking, I did cook my Italian lasagna noodles, and then I'm making a giant pan of these, so I did throw in some extra just so that we can have some extra noodle parts, vegetable spirals to cook with that as well, because I like a lot of noodle in my lasagna. And like I said, I do have a giant pan of it. While that was all cooking, I did prep some of my vegetables. I washed my tomatoes, and I'm going to use probably 3 to 4 if we need them. And then I've washed and sliced some of my zucchini. I normally don't slice the zucchini with the potato peeler to get the skins off, but they just felt a little greasier today, so I did that. But I'm going to use 4 or 5 of these as well. I have 7 of them here, but I don't know if we'll fit in all 7. Probably at least 6. Well, 4 to 6. We'll see. But I have them ready to go, and if we don't use them, I'll slice them up and make a little ratatouille with it for on the side. But I want to slice them up with my mandolin slicer really thin. And I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and then I'm going to assemble everything, and I'm going to show you how I assemble everything. But that was the pre-cooking. And the pre-cooking really did not take me, I want to say, probably about a half hour to cook up everything, slice up everything. Now I'm ready to assemble, and the assembly goes really quickly. I'm getting all of my products ready for assembling, and when I assemble, I'm going to be using just some very inexpensive tomato sauces. You can use any of your sauce that you'd like. Homemade, but this is quick and easy for me today, so I'm going to just use this canned stuff. I'm going to use some Go Veggie. This is one of our favorite brands of dairy-free cheeses. I did whip up, I don't always, but I did this time whip up using some raw cashews, a cashew cheese blend. So it's using raw cashews right here in the blender. And then I put some pre-cooked carrots from a boiled dinner and some boiled potatoes in there as well. And you can look up cashew cheese recipes. It's it's vegan cheese, and you'll find all different kinds. I'll post one of them as well. I don't think I have one ready now or not. You have to look on my little channel to see if I have a cashew cheese recipe posted. I can't remember. But if I don't, then I'll post some. I have some more getting ready to post. But there's that. Here's some spices: garlic powder, onion powder, Italian seasoning that I'll just layer on top of my zucchini as I'm layering my lasagna and zucchini. So I got all my ingredients ready and handy, and now I'm going to start assembling. But there's the cheese sauces. You can use any kind of dairy-free cheeses that you like, your favorites. The last time I made this, we used Daiya dairy-free sprinkle cheese. It's a shredded mozzarella that comes in the packages where you buy your dairy-free cheeses. Today I'm going to use this Go Veggie, and then I do have another brand here that we do not like as well, some mozzarella here. So I'll put a layer of each of these. But I had this in the freezer, this mozzarella dairy-free. But they're very similar. But like I said, we do like the Go Veggie the best, so we're going to use that. And then the Daiya makes a really delicious layer, but like I said, I just don't have that today. But take your favorite cheeses, and we're going to layer them in as well. I'm going to show you how I prepped my zucchini after I did trim it, the skin off a little bit with a potato peeler. I'm going to slice them down with my mandolin slicer. I'm going to do it horizontally across the zucchini, so I'm just putting my safety handle on here, and I have it set on really thin. And I'm just going to slice it down like this, but I'm going to show you what they look like. If you don't have a mandolin slicer, this is great. It's really a staple thing to have in your kitchen if you are vegan or vegetarian, because we go through so much vegetables. But look how thin that is. That's beautiful. And it's easy. I mean, if it wasn't easy and quick, then I wouldn't bother buying one. But this just makes my life so much easier. And it's literally within seconds. And I like it because I can get it so thin. Slicing it down. There, I'll show you kind of, you can't see it upside down, but it's just really a nice tool to have. And it's so beautiful the way they slice them up. So that's how I'm going to prep that. And I have it sliced on a setting of a 2 here. Actually, where is it? Yeah, it's on a 2. And this is the Tupperware mandolin that I use, but any brand is fine that you like. But I like this for the sturdiness of this and the safety features it has on here. I start my assembly of lasagna with some of the jar sauce at the bottom. And like I said, you could doctor this up. And then I'm going to put a layer of zucchini. And I'm just going to spread it with the zucchini here. Of course, make sure your hands are clean. That's what I always tell my kids at school. Make sure you wash them before you touch the Kindles. Okay, so we're going to layer the zucchini. And this is a really large pan. This is 11 wide by, what was that long? 15? I want to say 15 by 3 inches high. So I'm going to go ahead and do a layer on the bottom of my zucchini. Let me make sure that that's 15 for you. That's what happens when you get old. Was it 15? Yeah, it's 15. That's right. So 11 by 15 pan, and it's 3 inches deep, so it's pretty deep. Now I'm going to go ahead and just quickly put my zucchini, like I said, on the bottom. And I have a lot of zucchini. This is a huge pan, and we have found in our house that we never throw away leftover lasagna. It's always eaten. So I make sure that I make a huge one. Last week I made a small one, and it was gone in 2 days. So this week I said I'm making a huge one. So I'm going to put my zucchini at the bottom. And now I'm going to layer it with a little bit, just a little bit of sauce on top. I'm going to get a spoon. Now, the zucchini is straight from cutting. We did not doctor this up at all. I didn't put any spices on it and soak it in any salts or anything. So it's straight from being cut. So I'm going to sprinkle some seasoning on as you do your layers. This is Chunky Garden. That's where you saw that big chunky red, which is nice. Piece of tomato. So when I'm doing my zucchini, I want to make sure I give a little bit of seasoning. And this is Italian seasoning that I'm using here. And a little bit of maybe garlic powder, onion powder as you do it. Just to give the zucchini a little flavor. So you don't hit, so when you're taking a bite, you don't hit a blob of nothing. Or just zucchini. So I want to season each one of those. I want to make sure I tell you that. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, I'll start off with a layer of my lasagna noodles here. And they are cooling. And I have them cooling in a little bit of water. You can see how that one kind of started drying out because it was at the top. And it takes, this is what I love about this dish, it takes the entire length of a lasagna noodle, and it's 3 wide. So it's perfect. Perfect, perfect. And I got this dish years ago. This was actually a Princess House dish. And I don't know if they sell them anymore. So I'm going to start my layer. There's my lasagna now. Now you can layer with a little bit more sauce. And this, don't worry about any areas that are dry. It'll just cook up. I've tried this method with the no-cook noodles. And it comes out really good too. Just make sure you do not overcook those no-cook noodles. You've got to follow those cooking instructions to the T, because I've done it before where I've overcooked them. I'm going to get a rag so I can wipe my hands as I go along. So we did the sauce. Now we're going to layer in. You can either, it doesn't really matter which meats you do, which layers you do. Just make sure you spice each one. I'm going to sprinkle with some nutritional yeast here. This helps give it that cheesy flavor. And actually, the no-cook noodles really feel cheesy when you're eating them because it's kind of it's a different texture. It doesn't give me the same feeling as the pre-cooked noodles, but it's a different texture, but it almost feels like it's cheesier with that. Now I'm going to layer some of my sausage. This is going to be my sausage layer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm using the entire pan of a package of sausage. Like I said, my dish is pretty big. So I'm going to have it as a layer. And I like to, when I cut into my lasagna, I like to see different layers. I don't like to see it all mushed together. So that is my sausage layer. Now I'm going to go ahead and layer it with some zucchini, because I cut the zucchini really thin. That's so we can have a lot of the zucchini layer through our noodle layer. And actually, one zucchini doesn't really go far on these dishes because, like I said, this dish is pretty big. Even when I used my small pan, I used 3 zucchini on my small pan. There. I'm going to put a little bit more sauce on here as well because it was a little dry before I hit my noodles. Before I became vegan, I was famous for my lasagna. And now I'm going to do some cheese on top too before I do my noodle. And I'm going to use, I'll start with this one because I don't have the Go Veggie yet taken off. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my cheese sauce that's made with cashews. I'm going to put a little bit of that on. And then I'm going to actually just mix it into that sauce. This is a little bit thick, so I'm going to have to spread it. Now, like I said, if you don't want to do a cashew cheese sauce, you can do the package of, now Dea mozzarella package, shredded package, is what we found is the best for this, for lasagna. And I think I used about a half a package. When I make my vegan lasagnas, I don't douse it with the cheeses. We used about a half a package of the Dea shredded. There's that. And now I'll go ahead and do a layer of my noodles. Right here. And the next layer I'm going to use is the Go Veggie cheese. Am I able to get 4 on here? I think I am. I like a lot of noodles. The dish kind of tapered into the bottom, so it was 3 on the bottom, but I'm able to do 4 wide here. Yeah, I really like a lot of the noodles. Now, what I do for the leftover sauce here is I go ahead and add a little bit of water to my jar. Now, if you're using you don't have to cook noodles first. You can use like a half a cup of water in this as you're shaking, because it does recommend to add more water to it. And then I'm going to add that there. But I'm not using those kind of noodles now. But whenever I do mine, I always add a little bit more of that noodle, because the noodles are hard, so they're not cooked yet. This helps. This little extra water is going to help steam the zucchini as you layer the zucchini with it to cook it, because you want enough juice to be able to cook that zucchini. So here's my zucchini layer. And these are like whisper thin, so it's not like overpowering of zucchini. It just kind of cooks together. Right there. Nice and thin. And then I'll do a layer of my tomatoes right on top of this. And then I'm going to put cheese on top here. I used, I believe, 4 tomatoes. I'm going to season. I forgot to season. This is garlic powder. Like I said, I want that zucchini to be seasoned a little. And it's a powder, not a salt. So we're not using too much. I'm going to go underneath this. I want the powder underneath it. I forgot to do that. There. That way it has a nice garlic flavor. You can use crushed garlic too, which I absolutely love. It comes in the jar. And this layer took all my tomatoes, so that's fine. There. Okay, like I said, this is a huge pan. Now I'm going to do a layer of my cheeses. I went ahead and did a layer of the cheese, and you can see how I do my cheese. I just layer the entire piece on, and it took actually the whole package of that Go Veggie cheese. And when if I do a vegan, non-vegan lasagna, I put about 2 pounds of fresh sliced cheeses in. I go to the deli and do that. So we don't put as much in when we make a vegan one, but it still tastes just as good. Now I'm sprinkling it with some Italian seasoning here. And I'm going to do another layer of noodles. Next I'm going to put on my meat, the ground meat. And it was the ground imitation burger. And I like that in my lasagna because it is made with a soy product, which I always question the way they make those ground beefs. But like I said, we don't eat it all the time. But what it does is it gives like a creamy texture to it. When it's cooked with everything else, it gives a real nice creamy texture. And it almost adds to that real cheesy flavor too. It's the ground soy meat. Comes as crumbles. At the end of the video, you'll see a post. I'll post some pictures of actually the products I used. Now I'm going to layer in my zucchini again. I always alternate to the different kinds of sauces, whatever I can find that's vegan friendly. And then I'm going to put my meat crumbles on top. Actually, because I have so much zucchini, I might not have to use that extra noodle I cooked. Oops, there goes one. Some of my short ones are down here on the end. But I'm getting to my top, so I don't want to put too much. And now I'm going to do my meat crumbles that are sauteed with onions and mushrooms. A layer of that. I'm going to also sprinkle some nutritional yeast. If you've never used the nutritional yeast, this gives a lot of flavor to your foods if you are vegetarian or dairy-free. And it flavors it like a cheese, almost like a Parmesan dry shake cheese. That is something that I buy all the time. And I buy it from the health food store, and I buy it in these big bags. And actually, this bag that was pretty huge, it was a pretty good sized bag. They sell it by the pound. And it was $4 for the whole bag. So that was pretty good. And I'm just going to do a sprinkling. And you would use it like Parmesan. I also use it when I make my cashew cheese sauce. We use it when we sprinkle on pizza. When we make our vegan pizzas, I sprinkle this on. And it has a cheesy smell to it. It has like I said, it's similar to a Parmesan. Of course, it's not exact. And did I get my sauce under there? Yeah, I did. Okay. Now I'm going to do another layer of another layer of noodle. And I've used almost 2 full jars right now of sauce. This may be my last layer. This was a 16-ounce package. Let's see if I have a better one. I've got a couple more noodles left only. So it was a pound package of noodles, lasagna noodles. Get that over there. And then I'm going to put a little one at this bottom here, if I have any pieces.
No, we haven't switched or anything, that's why
I do have a full piece left here. I'm just going to break it. You can't see where I am in the video. I had a little bit on the end here. The pan, like I said, is tapered, so I'll put a little bit more on this end too. I just want to use up my noodles because I like a lot of noodles. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to throw the rest of my zucchini on top, and then I'm going to smother it with cheese, smother it with sauces. Actually, I'm going to put cheese on first. I do want some more cheese, so I'm going to stop that, put some more cheese on, and then do the zucchini. I don't like having my cheese on the top of the very last layer. I like it underneath something, and so I want it underneath the last layer of zucchini. I sprinkled some Italian seasoning, and I'm going to do some onion powder on the top. And this was the mozzarella, vegan mozzarella. And I'm doing a little bit of garlic powder as well. And now I'm going to add a little bit more water to my sauce here, because it's kind of thick when it's coming out of that jar, because I want it to spread thin on my top. And I'm going to put the last little bits of zucchini here. I may not have enough for a whole row, so I actually did use 7 of them. Which is nice. This makes a 1-dish meal, because you got your vegetables all in here. I'm actually using all the little scraps now for the rest, so I did have it all. Great, because zucchini's awesome in the lasagna. Just filling in some sides here. Okay, and now the sauce on top. And like I said, I did put a little bit of water in here so it just flows, because I want it to have a continuous coverage of sauce. And now I'm going to add, I'm on my 3rd jar here, right on top. Your top has to be covered pretty good with it. And I did not quite use the whole 3rd jar. I don't want it overflowing, so I'm real careful. This will fill in. Comes up a little bit in the top, but not too much. It's all going to settle down as it cooks. I want to make sure my edges are not sticking up at all. And I'm going to cover this with aluminum foil for the first half hour or so. It's going to cook for about 45 minutes. It's just going to heat through. So I'm going to cover it with aluminum foil. And I have a preheated oven, 375. And I seal the edges here so that it forms a little bit of the steam. That way my vegetables are going to be cooked right here. And then I'll take it off the last 15 minutes or so. Total cook time will be close to 45 minutes, a little bit over maybe, but I'll let you know when I pull it out. So I'm putting it in about a 375 oven for about 40 minutes, then I'll check it. Actually, I'm going to check it at about 35 because I want to pull the top off. So I'm going to set the timer for 35, and then the top I'm going to check it. With this, because it's so big and deep, if you do a big deep one, the center needs a lot longer to cook. So at 35 minutes, I'll check it, and I'll pull the top off that so I can get some crispy cooking to the top of this. You know, my vegetables can crisp up and they can get a little browned. At 35 minutes, I checked, and I just loosened the cover a little bit because it wasn't bubbling much, and I put it in for another 20 minutes. Right now you can see it's just starting to bubble on the edges. And when I did a fork test on the zucchini, it's tender. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the aluminum foil off completely. So 55 minutes it's been cooking with the aluminum foil. 35 covered, 20 extra minutes very loose. And now I'm taking the aluminum foil off, and I'm going to cook it for another 15-20 minutes. It's because it's such a big pan, I think. And here it is just coming out of the oven, and that was an additional 20 minutes. For the first 10 minutes I put in my garlic bread and cooked that, and then the last 10 minutes it bubbled up real good, bubbling real good in the center, and just starting to brown, as you can see. I like mine really hot in the center and really cooked. But you know, you cook it the way you like it, but this is how I like mine, just starting to brown and really bubbly in the middle. Now, of course, you know, we're going to be reheating this and reheating, you know, separate portions, but we're just going to eat off the edge tonight. But sometimes when I have my dinner parties, you know, that's why I want to make sure the center's really cooked well. But there it is, and then I will show you as I slice my piece.